This is Tar Heel Talk, an in-depth look at the issues and people making news in North Carolina. Here's your host, Sonia Williams.
There are many different early childhood professions, but they all have one thing in common: the opportunity to make a difference in the lives of children. Research shows that providing a high-quality education for children before they turn 5 yields significant long-term benefits. Young people who were in preschool programs are more likely to graduate from high school, go on to college, and to own homes. Well, on today's show, we're going to focus on efforts to recruit qualified teachers to the industry. And my first guests are Ayanna Carr-Brown, founder of Village Learning Solutions Educational Staffing, and Mark Brown, who is the president of the organization. Welcome to Tar Heel Talk.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Now, Village Learning Solutions has been working with teachers and schools for about 6 years now. Give us an overview of your program and its mission.
Well, the mission of our program is to really bridge the gap between supply and demand for teachers. And in doing that, we want to make sure that we are providing high quality staff for our clients and providing quality experiences in the schools and in the classroom for our teachers and our employees. There is a shortage of educators in every level of education, and it's particularly difficult for schools, preschools, to find quality teachers. And so we sort of support them in that effort. We provide short-term and long-term placement. We do substitutes, and we also provide permanent placement for our clients as well.
Okay, so you offer a number of services both to the teachers and to schools.
Correct.
Absolutely. The benefit of working with us is really twofold. It provides the school with the opportunity to really get to know the teacher beyond an interview. A lot of times you interview and the person sounds great, but the environment may not be a perfect fit, and vice versa. You know, we encourage our teachers to take the opportunity to interview the school as well, to get to know the owners and the other teachers in the school to make sure it's a good match for both. So working with us really provides that opportunity. The advantage of that is really that you don't have as much turnover. So you already know that that person fits in your school. So that's part of the benefit of our program.
Right. And you mentioned a teacher shortage, and that's an issue that I think a lot of schools are experiencing, both public, private, charters. So what type of training do you help to provide, or recruitment efforts do you provide to get more teachers into the classroom?
So we have a variety of ways that we recruit. We have partnerships with universities. Of course, we use all of the job boards, but we try to, we look at non-traditional ways to recruit teachers. So we don't limit ourselves to that. We may look at retired educators or people who are looking for a career change.
I know a lot of people don't understand or don't realize all the benefits that go along with being a teacher, particularly in early education. Talk a little bit about that and how you kind of sell that to your clients.
So really there's a lot of benefits to early childhood specifically. One of the things that I talk about is the room for growth within early childhood. You know, this is a system where there are many levels. So you may come in as a teacher assistant, you may become a teacher, you may become an administrator. If you're really ambitious, you can become an owner. There are opportunities in developing curriculum. One of the things that's really important about early childhood is that they're constantly training because standards are changing. There's new curriculums coming out probably every year. And so you're constantly improving your skills. And the early childhood environment really supports that. And I mean, you could be a chef inside of a preschool. You could drive a bus. You can do all kinds of things within early childhood. So it's a great career, and you don't always need a bachelor's degree. Yes, that is desirable, but you may come in with an associate's degree and then decide as you want to move up, it may encourage you to go back and get a bachelor's degree. But there's a lot of entry points to careers in early childhood, and so we try to get people excited. The most important thing is that you're developing the lives of children.
Absolutely.
You know, children at this age are very impressionable. This is when they're learning character ethics. They're learning, the basic fundamentals of reading. There's all sorts of things that go on in shaping the lives of children. No different than, people who teach elementary, junior high, or high school, but this is really the beginning phase, and you can really, really see the impact that you're making on a child's life. And it's very rewarding. You have to love children. If you're doing this, you have to really have a heart. You have to have a lot of patience, and it's a very rewarding career.
Okay. And Mark, how can people, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to add that you can also get involved on the policy side by working with organizations. You can get involved with helping child care centers, be an advocate for them, to create policies for them and things too. So.
Okay. Yeah. How can people get connected with Village Learning Solutions?
Well, they can get in contact with us on our website at villagelearningsolutions.com. They can reach us on our office number at 919-274-0449. So in a normal setting, whenever we have clients that get in contact with us, they will contact us and say, hey, Mr. Brown, we are in need of a substitute for today. And so the normal process is that we will say, well, what is the time? What are the staffing hours for the day? And once we identify that need for them, then we'll get in contact with our subs. We have our own database of substitute teachers, and we'll reach out to our teachers and identify that person for that day. And they will show up at the school with all the credentials that are needed to be in the school that day, because there are some things that you have to have in order to work into the classroom.
Right.
Because you don't want the state to show up and you don't have your credentials and get your client in any trouble. So.
Right. So it's a great, I can imagine that is a huge source for schools, especially most of the time if they need substitutes, they're very last minute. So that can be incredibly helpful.
Yeah.
That's another important part of our service is, there are very stringent requirements for who can work in a school, starting from, getting a background check clearance. There are a lot of things that you need that have to be in place before you can step foot into a school. And a lot of times for people who are not familiar with the industry, that process can be daunting. And we kind of help the teachers through that step.
Right.
And so we will walk you to where you need to go. We will go through the forms with you. You have to have a TB test. Those are the things that we walk them through. Where do you go? Where do you go get a fingerprint? Where do you send your paperwork? And so we sort of take the burden off of our clients, and we also take the burden off of the teacher having to figure out that process so that they can be gainfully employed in early childhood.
Definitely a great resource for both the teacher and the school. We're going to take a break. Ayanna, we'll talk more with you a bit later in the show. Mark Brown, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
We'll be back with more Tar Heel Talk after these messages. Today's show focuses on efforts to recruit and retain high-quality teachers in early childhood education. Joining me now is Danielle O'Neill, Chief Operating Officer with Village Learning Solutions Educational Staffing, and Angelo Pettis, who's the owner of Primrose School of Heritage, Wake Forest. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Now, Primrose partners with the Village Learning Solutions to find quality staff. Talk a little bit about that partnership and the impact that it's making on your business.
Absolutely. Primrose positions itself as the leader in educational childcare. So we want to make sure that our students are prepared academically, socially, emotionally, in every way for the rigors they're going to experience once they get to kindergarten. So, of course, we want to make sure we have the people and the assets to take care of our children, because at the end of the day, we're actually taking care of children. It's childcare. And of course, life gets in the way, so teachers are going to have to take vacations, teachers are going to get sick, and sometimes there are departures from the school, where we're the kind of industry where you have to have a physical asset in place to be able to function. And that is where the value of Village Learning Solutions comes into play, because we've actually had situations where we've had teachers call out at 6 a.m. and we need to have a replacement, for the day. We've called them at 6 and we've had an asset by about 8 o'clock. So their value is immeasurable to our company, but also to the industry.
And so that partnership is extremely important. When you think about, being able to provide that service, but also to have a process of vetting teachers before you send them into child care centers and schools.
Absolutely. We meet personally with every teacher that we bring on board to provide to our schools. We want to make sure that we can sit down and look them in the face and really see that they're passionate about working with children. We want to see their communication style. Will they be able to work with the children appropriately, and then be able to communicate to parents what happened during the day. So we feel it's very important to meet with all of our teachers personally to make sure that they will be a qualified asset to the schools we work with.
And I know, having working in an independent school environment myself, I know the importance of that right fit, both for the school and the school community. So you work together to make sure you get to know Primrose and its culture, its environment, so that you can match up those teachers?
Absolutely, and no two schools are the same.
Right.
And we get to know our schools, and when I get a call or when we get a call from a school, we kind of know who's going to be the right fit based on their background and experience, and what they can bring to the table to provide the solution for the schools. So that is very important.
I know gone are the days of just having a good babysitter for your children. Those credentials, they matter.
Absolutely, they're very important. Right now, there are lots of agencies that look out for children. They're looking out for the best interests of the children, so they have a lot of requirements for teachers. As Ms. Brown mentioned earlier, there's medical standards, there are educational standards, there are background checks that have to be done. This process can take a very long time, from the moment you identify a candidate, interview that candidate, do background checks, do reference checks. It could take anywhere from 1 to 3 weeks. And if I need an asset immediately, I don't have that kind of time. So again, that is where Village Learning Solutions and their value really comes into play. And it helps schools like myself when you need an asset right away.
I was just going to add, we do work with a number of schools in that scenario where they have an opening to fill, and they rely on us to provide a substitute teacher in the meantime, so they can really take the time to vet the applicant, so they don't feel stressed that they just need to hire a person because they need to, have a person physically there to meet their quota or their ratios. It gives them time to really make sure that they are hiring the right fit for their school. So they may have a substitute from Village Learning Solutions with them, for several weeks to months. It really kind of just depends on the school and their needs. Some schools, as it was mentioned, teachers, of course, things come up. Teachers are sick and they need to call out, or the schools are expanding and growing and they need to hire more staff members. Many of our schools rely on Village Learning Solutions to provide consistent substitute teachers, pretty much month to month. So it takes the stress off of the owners and the directors because they know that they have a qualified person to fill the gap.
Right.
during
and that
those
has
times.
made your job a lot easier as an owner,
Absolutely.
I can imagine.
Because we face these scenarios on a daily basis almost. And again, we've been working with Village Learning Solutions, I'd say, for the past 6 years since their inception. And it's just refreshing to be able to have that company that you know you can call on in an emergency situation. And fortunately, we have a great relationship with them. Whenever we call, they usually have someone available for us. So it's a tremendous asset to the industry.
What, from a owner's perspective, when you're working with families, what advice would you give to parents when they're looking for that child care center for their child? Because that is probably one of the biggest decisions that a parent of a young child is going to make.
It is a very important decision.
What are some of the things that they should look for?
Well, every parent's going to have their own idea of what they want out of a child care facility. But I tell parents that it is important to obviously go to the school, tour the facility. You'll get an opportunity to meet the administrators. Sometimes you get an opportunity to meet the ownership. Like my wife and I, we're always on site. You get an opportunity to meet the teachers and see the classrooms, because a school may have a wonderful reputation, but it may not be the right fit for you and your child. Right. So do your homework, evaluate the program, evaluate what they're going to be doing, how they teach. And then make your decision based on that, not necessarily on referrals and recommendations or even the 5-star license. Those are important components, obviously, but it shouldn't be the only factors you consider. Nothing replaces going, doing your homework, putting boots on the ground, so to speak, and going to see what the program is all about. So it's key that you go in and really understand that program by evaluating it with your own eyes.
And finding that right fit for your family.
Absolutely. Indeed.
Excellent advice. We're going to take a break. We thank you both for being with us, and we'll talk more in just a minute.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be back with more on careers in early childhood education after these messages. Welcome back to Tar Heel Talk. I'm Sonia Williams. Today's show focuses on efforts to recruit and retain high-quality teachers in early education. And with us again is Danielle O'Neill, Chief Operating Officer with Village Learning Solutions Educational Staffing, and Ayana Carr-Brown, who is the founder of the organization. Before the break, we were talking a little bit about the importance of having that high-quality teacher with her credentials, his or her credentials in the classroom. What advice do you have for people who may be interested in going into the education industry?
Well, for one, I would like to encourage people to think outside the box. So all over the country, we're always working on reducing unemployment rates, right?
Right.
And so I want people to, if you love children, if you have a passion for teaching, for you to consider early childhood education. We talked about retirees, but we can also, let's think about all of the students who are graduating from college who may not have a job, but they love children. Maybe they've worked as a camp counselor in the past, or maybe somebody's worked as a nanny in the past, somebody who is laid off from another professional industry. If you love children, this is a great place to start. So I really want people to think outside of the box. You don't necessarily have to have direct experience. What you have to have is a love for children, a passion for children. I also want to remind people that a career in early childhood education doesn't start and stop in the classroom. It doesn't, that there are so many things to consider when you're thinking about early childhood. Again, curriculum development. Mark mentioned earlier policy and entrepreneurship. Mr. Pettis is a great example of that. So his background prior to owning Primrose was not early childhood education. So you can really see the possibilities, and I want people to really consider that when they're looking for jobs, especially for people who have been looking for a while and may not have been able to find anything. And unemployment is running out, you're tired of sitting at home, you love children,
Right.
this is a great place to be.
And Village Learning Solutions can kind of help guide those people, take those skill
Absolutely.
sets that they have
Absolutely.
and help to transfer them into the classroom. Is that how you work with your clients?
Absolutely, and we feel that it's very important to give our teachers feedback on their performance. So we do follow up with our clients. I mean, we want to know, how things worked out, because we want to provide feedback, both positive and negative, which will help our staff members grow as early childhood educators. So we provide coaching in addition to the training.
Excellent. So what is the process of say if I'm interested in early childhood education, what's the process of me connecting with you and moving forward?
Our website is a great place to start to get lots of info on how the process works for both teachers and for schools, and that website is villagelearningsolutions.com. On the website, you'll find a place for teachers and a place for clients, along with an email address
Okay.
that you can contact us with. It's esinfo@villagelearningsolutions.com.
The process is largely, it begins with getting what's called a qualifying letter, which is required by the state of North Carolina to work in schools. And, that's fingerprinting and sending in your paperwork to the appropriate place. There's a TB test. There's just some basic training that you need in and around what to expect, how to conduct yourself in a professional manner, how to be insightful, what to communicate to parents, how to communicate to parents, how to interact with children, sort of what to expect. We want people, especially people who are not already experienced in the industry, we try to arm them with as much information as possible so that they know what to expect. Again, we spend a lot of time vetting so that, checking references and spending time talking to people and getting to know them and making sure that we're aligning them with the right school. Again, every school is very different.
Right.
And so the curriculum, the environment, some are very laid back, some are very structured, and you want to make sure that we're aligning them with the perfect fit for their personality.
Why is an organization like Village Learning Solutions so important to the community?
Providing employment. That's one big thing. And the other thing is making sure that people's children are cared for by the right people. When you go to work every day, you want to make sure that you are comfortable knowing that your child is safe, that they're being nurtured, that they're being taught, and that it's the right person doing it. And so, the schools can't do it. Most schools do not have a human resources department, right? And so it's really, really difficult. If you are a director, you have many hats. Right. If you're an owner, you have many hats. And so parents can be comfortable that even if there's a substitute in the classroom, that person has been properly vetted.
That's very important.
Yes.
And people can connect with you by going to your website?
Yes, absolutely.
There's
All the
an online
information that's
application.
needed there. Yeah, and they will be contacted, followed up.
Okay, and again, that website is villagelearningsolutions.com. They can
Yes.
also call 919-274-0449. So lots of ways to get connected with you and a number of very important services that you provide. Ayanna Carr-Brown, Danielle O'Neill, thank you both so much for taking the time to share your work with us and for being our guest today.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
for having
you.
us.
That's it for this week's Tar Heel Talk. To comment on this or other episodes of the show, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, or send an email to tarheeltalk@fox50.com. I'm Sonia Williams. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you again next week.